Hi, friends, and welcome. I am your hot mess of a host, Mary Hendricks from The Very Merry Life, your new mom friend that soon will feel like an old friend. Every week, I want you to come and join me as we cover moments in motherhood, marriage, sex, and more. Some moments worth savoring, others worth surviving, all with a laugh, pep talk, or F-bomb every now and again. I want you to come as you are, but leave the sugarcoating behind because, guys, we know how sweet it already is. So what do you say? Up for picking some daisies? All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Picking Daisies podcast. Emma, you're sitting here with me. every time I start recently, I've been going back to like my original podcast name. And I don't know why, because it hasn't been that way for a while. So I was thinking in my head before starting, like, you have to get this right.
But one job.
Got one job. This is my job. But anyway, hello. Welcome back, everyone. I have an amazing guest with me. Someone I'm very excited for, which actually, I was just thinking about this, Emma, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself in a second. I have no idea how we even came to follow each other. I don't even know. I don't remember, but I know I love your content, so it doesn't matter at this point. And the rest is history. So first off, introduce yourself and then we'll get into it.
Awesome. All right. Well, I am Emma Jasper, The Dilemmas of Emma online. And I have to say, I think I actually started following you a long time ago, now that I think about it, because, and I've always felt weird because I don't personally have kids and have like a family, but I love watching your content. So I've been like a lurker for a while, I think.
A lurker. Hey,
in like the most least creepy way possible.
That's fine. That's all right. That's all right. I actually have a good solid, I know I have a few girls that follow me that are not moms, but I think they just find it refreshing. But that's the thing with my content is I don't necessarily want it to always be just like mom stuff. It's life stuff that it's just a part of my life. It's a huge part of my life. So yeah. So, okay. Tell us about you a little bit, what your page is about, what you cover, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Okay. So like I said, I'm Emma Jasper, Dilemmas of Emma online. My account, I think at this point could be themed around main character energy. Mm-hmm. It's been a big passion and kind of mission of mine over the last year. I started sharing when my marriage fell apart and I found out I was going through a divorce that really blindsided me. And I started sharing online because I needed a community. I needed people who had gone through it and have proven to me that there was life on the other side. And I didn't have any real world examples of that. And I also didn't know how to talk to people about that stuff in real life. For some reason, it's easier online. I feel like there's a safety net there for me. And yeah, so I have this beautiful community now online of just badass women, and there's some men in there too, who are just determined to make themselves the main characters of their own lives. Yeah. And it's beautiful and it's wonderful and supportive. And
it is. Well, I think that's why I've been enjoying, because I think I must have, if that's the case, if you followed me first, then I must have followed you back at some point in seeing, I don't know when, but I know I followed you before your divorce, and it's been a year since your divorce happened. Mm-hmm. I know because you just celebrated the 365. And I know I followed you, but I remember seeing your content. And I think the part of what I've enjoyed about watching your content is you, and everyone here, obviously go follow Emma afterwards and go through and see everything. But following you, you see your evolution of it, of literally being at rock bottom in life, like essentially like you got blindsided and just smacked down, and it is watching you get up one step at a time and doing things that break you out of your comfort zone and to be the main character of your life, which and that's why I wanted to bring you on. Like you said, you're not a mom, but it's a story about, resiliency at this point of being, picking yourself up. And I have plenty of listeners that, how much shit do we get dealt in our daily life? And that just can knock us down and make us feel like awful. And it's, it the same story applies. It's just, it might be different in
100%.
a little bit. So I think that's why I
Yeah,
wanted to bring you on tremendously just to talk about that, because it's inspirational for me, which I love.
good. It's funny. It's fun to be able at this point, enough time has passed and I've had enough distance. Like you said, I just celebrated a year since finding out and since it all started, and being able to look back and have kind of a digital scrapbook, I guess,
Yeah.
diary of everything, and to see, because I think in the moment for things like this, it's really hard to see how time is changing and life is changing in the moment. It's
Yeah.
so slow, it's so small. Um, and yeah, like there's my community is wonderful, but it's a ton of people who haven't even been divorced, but have gone through something that has caused them to grieve.
Yeah.
And then that grief has inspired some kind of transformation.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's interesting to be able to look back on it and have all of these memories, good and bad,
Yeah. Oh
documented
God.
through
Yeah.
this journey.
I'm sure. Yeah. No, that's been the best part for me watching, is like, okay, this is really cool. So obviously, going back to the divorce, you found out that all of this was going on. You don't have to even get into details. You
Mm-hmm.
can share as much as you want. But what was like your first step of like getting your, like, obviously everyone has that moment being like, my life is over. My life
Yeah.
is over. This,
Yep.
I don't even know how I'm going to even move past
Mm-hmm.
this. Like, so what was your first step? Like, what was your first, I don't know, awakening to be like, okay, I have to keep moving?
I think that when I look back, there are a few big kind of pivotal points. When I found out, and it was infidelity, if anyone's curious, I found out and divorce was decided pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
But at that point, I wound up losing my job about a month later because I was just depressed, honestly. Like I just couldn't function.
Yeah.
And so for me, when I look back and I like see the moments where I'm like, okay, you gotta just keep going. One of them was saying, okay, I am divorced. Like even the first time I said that word, before I was even legally divorced, I was like practicing saying it. And that was something where I was like, okay, you can do this, you can do that. You try one thing and you get a little stronger with it. When I was going back into the workforce as well, I was coming out of depression. I had moved back in with my parents at 34, which is what every 34-year-old wants to do. But going back to work after that also, like, because I started doing DoorDash,
Okay.
because I needed something to do for a job. I didn't have
Yeah.
health insurance and I was trying to make money. And that was another time, like, I just remember having this vivid moment of being like, you can either cave or you can decide that this is not how your story is going to continue on.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like, actually, that is probably the thought that I've had since day one, is like, I started saying main character energy to myself from day one, and I did not even know what that meant.
Yeah.
But like over time, saying it over and over again and trying to make all decisions out of the main character standpoint in your life after being someone else's supporting role for a long time.
Yeah.
Anytime that I had to, God, I could go getting a bank account,
Yeah.
getting my own credit card. The first time I got my car service, I like never had anything to do with cars before this.
Yeah.
And I had to, it was so simple and stupid, getting an oil change. But the guy was asking me questions and I was like, I am so embarrassed. I don't know any of these answers.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can get swindled right now, but I was really upfront with him. And he was like, walk me through every step, every moment like that.
Yeah.
Has felt like I'm not giving up. I want to, and like I can't see what's on the other side. And if I close my eyes and imagine the future, it's just dark.
Yeah.
I don't have that hope yet, but like trusting that it has to be out there. Like the only way out is through. Like you just have to keep going.
Yeah, I'm big into manifesting. I don't know if you're big into manifesting. I just think it's like the best thing ever. I'm reading a book slowly because I fall asleep after like one page, but it's 15 steps to the 15 magic, or the magic of manifesting, 15 steps to like your best life. I don't even know, but it's so good. And one of the best parts in it, and I could grab it and read it, but the guy that's writing it is saying that we forget to focus on our present self and what's going on in our present day. And we're always clouded thinking about the future, or we're clouded thinking about the past. And both of those, I forget what he calls it, is your ego. He said that's your ego. So that's the stuff that's going to come in, and your ego is going to say it's doubtful. Like, you're not going to get through this if you're looking at the future, or and you're looking at the past, you're going to set yourself up for failure again, where you're going to be like constantly looking at the past and be like, well, this happened, so what's to mean it's not going to happen again? And he said, like, the best way to like create your life is literally look at it right now. Like, don't look at it what it's going to look like tomorrow. Don't look at what it looked like yesterday. Just right now at this very second, what do you need to do? And keep on doing that. And then eventually you're going to get to where you need to be. And I was like, it's so good. I mean, it's so simple, but sometimes you just need to read it.
How it is, though. I always think that it's like the true valuable things in life are the simple things.
Oh yeah.
Like, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. And like, I'm saying this like I know this now, but like only after the year of this journey that I've been on. Like, when I think about, I focus a ton now on finding like the glimmers in everyday moments, because when something like that happens and your whole world just disappears, you can't think about the future. Yeah. Because for me, at least, everything that I thought was going to be my future was gone. Yeah. Dreams of having children and my beautiful house we had just bought and all this stuff, that was all gone. Looking at the past, like you say, like, that is not going to serve me. That will actually make me crazy.
Yeah.
Going back and replaying things. And so focusing on the little joys that are present all the time. Yeah. And honestly, like from day one, like my to-do list of things originally was like, get up, brush your teeth, walk the dogs. Thank goodness I have dogs, because that kind of gave me like a reason for structure. Yeah. Take care of the dogs, and then do it again tomorrow. That's it. Like, I didn't have the capacity to go any bigger than that.
That's fine. I think that's tiny. I think, well, and that's why, again, this is why I think this is a conversation for anyone here. It's grief. Like, all of this is grief. So this could be grief compounded in if you lost someone, if you are divorcing, if you broke up with your best friend, like that's right up there. So whatever it may be, or I don't know, whatever type of grief is all the same. But I think it's what's that song? You know what song is really good? This because I'm a mom. Is Frozen 2. If you haven't watched Frozen 2, go watch Frozen 2.
I haven't. I gotta
watch that. But Anna sings at the end, and this is so cheesy that I even know this, but I just had it on because my daughter's obsessed with it. But Elsa dies. Spoiler, sorry, Elsa dies. She comes back to life. Of course, it's Disney. Disney. But she is devastated, and she sings a song and just about grief. And she said the lyrics are, it's doing the next best thing. So what am I supposed to do is just doing the next, I think it's the next right thing or next best thing. But she just said you just have to keep doing the next, whatever that is, until you get to where you need to be. And it's so good.
Look at Elsa with the value. I
know.
I love it.
And then she comes back to life. But that's how Disney works, where you sit there as an adult and you're like, oh, okay. That's, that adults are sitting and watching you, aren't you?
I think that's exactly it. I think that's going back to the whole like main character energy, which is different than main character syndrome. I've had a few people ask me that. Like, main character syndrome would be if I thought I was the main character in your life. Yeah. And I acted thinking that you should act like I'm the main character. That's not it at all. It's thinking main character energy is thinking that you are the main character of your own life, which of course you are. Yeah. But so many of us kind of forget that. And so much of main character energy, for me at least, has been what is the next, what in this moment, I have to make a decision. What decision does the main character make? Yeah. Like, it could, like, for a lot, this is small and little. For a long time, it was like a main character eats breakfast. Yeah. Main character has to eat to continue going on. Yeah. And because for a long time, like that, I just stopped, I was depressed. I just stopped eating. I just, and little things, where you're like, how it's so good for anyone, I think. Anyone, but especially if you were like a people pleaser growing up and you really like to accommodate other people and make sure that they're taken care of. Yes. Yeah.
It's my life.
It's hard to remember that, like, also at the end of the day, like, no one can do this for you except for you. Yeah. And that sucks, but also that's freeing.
It is freeing.
It becomes empowering. Yeah.
Yeah. No, well, that's, I mean, I I was that way all the time. I remember even as a kid, I was always a people pleaser, but I was always just scared. I had everyone do it for me because my confidence was low. So when your confidence is low, you kind of just sit back a little bit and you kind of let everyone step forward. And I remember being in high school, like my first step for trying to do that was went out of state for college, which my parents were like, what the hell? Like, you're going to come home. They were like betting on me coming home, and I didn't. And then 2 years later, I said, I'm studying abroad. And they're like, oh, okay. I didn't know anyone. I just went by myself. And it was like the best experience.
That's so main character.
Ever. Like, I know, but it's like little things of doing that where I still obviously struggle. Everyone struggles with like self-confidence and stuff like that. But I've always, I'm doing I graduated college. I went on Match.com because I was like, I want to meet someone. I'm not in the mood to like wait any longer. We're just going to make this happen. And I met my husband, and then we got married. and then all of it, like, but then I quit job. Like, I didn't like my job and I was like, I'm going to get a new one. And it just worked out. My parents were like, how do you do that? I was like, I don't know. Like, I just
Isn't that thing online right now, like Delulu? Like,
I'm just Delulu. I think you have to be.
And it works out generally.
I know. One of my jobs after, I graduated college and I went into pharmaceutical marketing, and that was right as I met my husband. And so we're dating, and then I hated it. And we got engaged, and I said, I'm quitting. And I went to a startup company, and I ended up leaving after a month.
Yeah.
Because it was not a real startup. It was a piece of shit. And then I just announced randomly with no prior history that I'm going to refinish and repaint furniture for sale. And my grandpa was alive at the time, and he was like, how'd you learn all this? I was like,
figuring it out.
I was like, figure it out. And it worked fine. And then I went to personal training, and then I went to being a mom, and now I'm here. So I'm like, I don't know.
And look how like capable and resilient you are. Like every time we do one of those things where we're like convinced that we can't do something because we just have never done it, and then you do it, and all of a sudden you have this confidence in you because you've expanded your capacity. Or maybe your capacity was already expanded and you just realized that it was expanded, but like you flew recently. Right? And that was so scary for you, but you did it. That's big.
That's why. I mean, I've been watching you. It's main character energy. We're keeping it going. We're keeping it going.
I love it.
No, but it honestly is. So everyone listening, you're main character of your life starting today. You've always been, but starting today, you have to remember that. And what would you say? Okay, so for anyone listening right now that's kind of like they're driving in a car and they're like, I need this in my life. Where to begin? What should they do?
I think that number one, we are faced with a huge amount of decisions that we have to make every day as a human being. And once you start examining every decision and saying, what's the main character choice? What's my past self choice? And by the way, main character choices can sometimes be like, I'm going to stay in tonight and eat chips on the couch because that's what my soul needs. Like that feels like how I want to live my life, as long as you're doing it aligned with what you really want. But I think that examining how many choices you make in a day where you are just doing the default, like making the default choice because it's what you've always done, or because you think it's what people expect of you, or you're trying to make someone else happy. Really examining every little decision that you make and make sure that sometimes you don't even have to do anything with it. Just ask yourself, like, is this a main character choice? Because if not, you don't have to change anything then, but it's good awareness. We're on autopilot so much in life. It's so busy. So I think that is a good thing. And then I moved back in with my parents, post-divorce. And at that point I was going through a ton of memory boxes that I had. And I found this list from, I think it was 3rd grade. I think I was 8.
Yeah.
And I had written this list of, it was like 15 things I want to do this summer. Like, I don't know, it was like have a sleepover or ride your bike or go to the library. One was get a pet. Like I had the power to make that choice at 8. But I looked at this list and I was like, dang, at 8 years old, like, one, obviously the stakes are lower, but 2, I was making decisions because they were just what I wanted to do. And like the time that it took for me to look at that list and then examine what I was doing in my life, like I could be doing so many things, little things that would bring me joy. Like, I'm not going to go have slumber parties, but I can have intentional get-togethers with friends.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes that just feels like too much work, or you forget about it. And granted, again, like, I'm saying all of this with the lens that I don't have kids, because I know if I had kids, the divorce would be 1,000,000,000% harder. And also, your life is dictated more by
but I think
they
sometimes
need.
at the end of the day, I'm going to be fully honest, as a mom, sometimes our kids are a safety net for avoiding those things. So sometimes, like, I know for myself, sometimes it's a very nice thing to have, because we kind of sit back. And I know for me, like, I use it as an excuse sometimes. And when you get in such a rut of doing that, then you're like, oh, I don't know how to break out of this and do that again. So yeah, I mean, it's just a good, again, all of this is good reminders as to, like, why. I think the biggest thing with main character energy, based off of what you're saying, is ask yourself why. Like, why are you doing these things? Like, I know for me, if I could think of another main character, is I got my nose pierced this summer, where I was like, I had wanted that my entire life as a kid. I had always wanted that. And I was like, why didn't I? And it was because my parents always hated it. And I was like, so I did it. And guess what? They don't care.
Isn't that fun? Yeah. Well, they don't. Yeah,
they don't care.
Right? Like, and it's like you get to. I did the same thing with. I got my belly button pierced this summer.
Yeah, there you go.
Because I was like, I wanted to, and then I was like, wait, I don't have to ask permission.
Yeah.
Like, why am I always waiting for someone to tell me it's okay to do things? Like, you know, I think that also coming out of the marriage that I was in my relationship, I had just really bought into, okay, this year's the house, and by the end of this year, we had like gone to a doctor for IVF. Like, we were like really going to start planning and having babies and when that's all gone, you really have to ask yourself, like, what makes me happy?
Yeah.
Because all these external things that I was relying on to give me a quote unquote good life, happy life.
Yeah.
One, they weren't real because they hadn't happened yet. I was living in the future. And two, like, they can be taken away from you. But the little things, the glimmers, those are always there. So I guess that would be my last piece of advice, is when the world feels too hard and too heavy and there is no big joy, right? Like, that you can't see the big stuff. Like, that's not happening for me. But you're always going to have the first sip of a hot cup of coffee in the morning. You're always going to have the noise of birds chirping outside and my dog's cute, dumb little nose that's so cute and squishy. Like, these things that are so little that we overlook because they don't fit into the grand narrative, like the grandiose vision of joy and what we think life should be. When it's all gone, you really focus in on like the little things that make you happy. And once you start seeing them, they're everywhere. I think we just forget.
Oh, absolutely.
Kids see them all the time, right? Like, kids are always noticing little things.
I had a guest on when I first started the podcast, and she's on TikTok and stuff like that, but she is like in her 50s, and she talks more for like women and going through hormonal changes and stuff like that. But she spoke, and it was about motherhood and kind of finding yourself after your kids grow up and leave. And she was saying that she spoke at a seminar and she posed a question to the crowd of mostly moms. And she said, when was the last time that you felt true joy and you're not allowed to name another person? And it was such a hard answer. And I love asking people that because I even struggle with that. And she had said that someone had come up to her at the end of it, and it was like a lady in her 70s. And she said, I'm struggling to figure out. And she said, think about it. Like, think about the last time that you remember feeling overjoyed and like and confident in what you're doing and having. And this lady was like debate team in high school. So she was like, okay, let's think about this. And she ended up hearing back from this lady later on, who after that went out and pursued like being a part of the town, like municipality or whatever it was, like that she could participate.
Yes.
And now she has that again. So like that, you saying that stuff, it's so important. And I just had a podcast prior to this that I was just talking about what happens when you're done having kids type of thing. Cause there's a grief that happens with that. Yeah. And people always like to say, and for people that don't have kids, is like, what do you want your table to look like? What do you want like your future table to look like? And I like it. It's a pretty picture. But my biggest question that I said in the podcast is, how do you want your table to feel?
Yeah.
And what do you want to feel like when everyone who's sitting at that table gets up and goes? Because it's only just you. Because it's only just you at the end of the day.
Yes.
Like, so if your family and your kids that are you loved and you work so hard for were your meat, and they get up and go, and you're empty and you have nothing, like that's not good. So if they get up and go and you have something else outside of that, that is like the best thing ever. And that's what I'm striving to do at this point, where I'm like, okay, what can I find that's
because you're a whole human. You're a mom, but like you're also a whole ass human.
Yeah.
All by yourself. And I think that it's so easy to forget that. And also there's a safety. I loved being someone's wife.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved having that like kind of
identity.
Yeah, it's an identity. Yeah. It's a definer. And I loved it. But once it's gone, it's like, crap. I have to do so much work. I have to figure out. And it has been a year of work. Like, I won't lie and say, like, the idea of main character energy is a very empowering and positive thought. But, like, healing is not pretty.
No.
It's not linear. And, like, doing the main character thing is not always doing the fun thing that you want in the moment. It's not always doing what feels good for today. It's thinking about for tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's the messy middle is doesn't always get like displayed online, I think in kind of clear terms, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it because I can go out now, like I can go out and eat by myself at a restaurant, and I had before the beginning of this year I had never done that in my life, and when I started doing it, Mary, when I tell you I hated it, like I hated it.
Yeah.
It was
not know what to do with your hands and stuff. I would have no idea what to do.
And I was like, I was so jokey with all the wait staff, like to an annoying point where I was like, I guess you're my best friend because I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
And now it's just me and myself, and like that's fine. Like I'm okay with myself now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it takes a little while. I think it's one of those things that like
all of it. I mean, this all sounds like positive stuff, and it is because it it's just it takes time, and you take these little things and then you fall back again, and then you got to keep going. And I think it's just a give and take type of. It's an ebb and flow.
Yeah. As is life, it turns out that like what I thought life was when I was 8, like where I'm like, yeah, it's so clear cut and there's such a path.
I know.
It's not.
No, God, no. As I'm
I think that's
calling my mom yesterday crying, I'm like, oh, I hate being an adult. I'm like, I'm done.
First time I like paid like, getting my health insurance, my dental insurance. And I was like, they have the audacity to separate dental insurance from your health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
That's bonkers. That's not fair as an adult.
I know.
No.
I know.
But, we're doing it.
I dealt with the stupid dishwasher yesterday. Lowe's, if you're listening, if anyone here works for Lowe's, go fuck yourself. I hate you so much. You just fucking pissed me off. We got a dishwasher. It broke. We got it 2.5 years ago. It broke. I'm sorry, I'm going on this spiel because now I'd opened up the floodgates of this. It broke. I called Lowe's. They offered to send a repairman out. They said like on Tuesday they'd come out, then it pushed to Friday. This guy came out wearing like a dress shirt and jeans and a little screwdriver kit.
Cute.
It was like totally like third party. He didn't even drive like a repair van. Like he drove a BMW to our house. It was like the most random thing. And he comes in, he takes a look at the dishwasher, which he didn't know how to even get out. He takes a look. Perfect. He says, it's irreparable. He puts it back in. He says, I'll let Lowe's know. I get a notification from Lowe's yesterday saying that it's irreparable. We already knew this, but it's unable to be covered due to infestation. What does that mean? So I call them and they said that the guy said that he found a mouse dropping. So now they're classifying it as an infestation problem, and that the mouse that left this dropping, which for all I know could have been there for forever, they aren't able to cover our
that is
repair.
So lame.
It's such bullshit. I freaked out. I was like so mad, and I'm not like that. So when the guy was on the phone relaying all this information to me, I was like, I took everything out of my body to not curse up a storm, but I was like, I'm going to have to hang up on you because I am about to lose my shit. And I know it's not you. So I'm going to just go. So, and he's
So
like, I
I'm gonna
appreciate
go.
that.
Yep.
And I'm like, you're welcome. Ugh.
Okay, but that's not fair.
No. You know what? In moments like that, if we're talking about main character energy, though, that's just I like thinking about, I really do. I do like to think of my life as a story. So it's just, it's like those added details where if you pretend like someone was reading your life, reading
It's a plot
Kindle,
twist, right?
it's like it's just a little extra spice to be like, oh, this sucks for the character.
Little side character role over there. Yeah, it's all part of the story.
It's all part of the storyline. Makes it exciting.
That's what I think.
No, but
that sucks. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's fine. But as we go on. So
yeah,
that's all part of it. So no, well, I've loved this conversation because this is for everyone listening. Please go follow Emma. Again, you don't have to be a divorcee. You don't have to be anything. Like, just go watch because, like I said, this is there's just I don't know. I love your content. It's inspiring and eye opening and like affirming, but also real. It's not like I don't feel like you're sugarcoating any of this.
No.
You just you just get on and share everything. So
I'm so glad. Thanks for saying that.
Yeah, no problem. What are you doing for work now? Because I know you're doing social media stuff, right?
Yeah, so I'm actually doing social. So I'm a social media manager and content creator for a few different clients.
Nice.
My big client is this program called Vote for Your Daughter, which is an art exhibit, and it's all about it's nonpartisan, but it's all about making sure that the rights of women and girls around the country are protected. So I'm just doing social media for that. And I love it. I mean, I couldn't have guessed that I would be here a year ago. But it's funny the way the world works. I do not always believe that everything happens for a reason, but I do think you can find a reason for everything in retrospect for why things happen.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to have the job that I have now, and I love it. So
I'm a big, I don't believe in everything happens for a reason. I think
it's too easy, isn't it? That's too easy.
I think shit just happens.
I think so
shit
too.
Just happens, but there is a solution if you can seek it out.
Yeah. You can make anything happen for a reason, I think. Yeah. I think that it's all perspective on how you look at it. I mean, I think that the more you are intentional about, building. I said this the other day on social. Someone was saying, I took myself out on a date randomly, just decided to go on a random date night by myself. And I went to the bookstore and I got dinner and then I got a massage. It was like the most luxurious day ever. Someone commented and said, I do these things all the time. Like, are we just like calling everything a date? And I was like, no, it's the intentionality behind it. Any one of us can go to a bookstore because we need to get a book. We can always just pay to get a massage. We need a massage. But like romanticizing your life a little bit and creating a reason for, why you're going through the things you're going through or giving them a purpose, I think is never a bad thing.
No. It's self-compassion.
Yeah, right? That's all it is. Self-love.
Self-compassion, self-love, which I think all of us could do with a lot more of. I know myself included in that, but I think it's just being mindful of ourselves because we don't do that enough. So awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to link everything. Actually, before we go, because I know we chatted on everything, and I'm going to link her song in here. Kat. Forgetting her last name.
Janice.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to put out this episode on Friday because I don't think I have anything scheduled and I don't feel like recording by myself solo. So I'm going to just put out this episode on Friday. I've been procrastinating on recording, but I'm going to put out this. And for everyone listening, Emma knows Kat. If you haven't seen, there's people dancing to her song. She is currently dying of lung cancer?
I don't know the specific kind of cancer.
Yeah, it's awful. Either way, she has a 7-year-old son who she's leaving all the royalties of the song to, and everyone's on social media spreading it. And I know you would, when I'd shared it as a story, you had said that people were like calling it fake and whatnot.
Yeah, so Kat is like the loveliest, most beautiful person. I know her in real life, it's been incredible to see the world like just lift her up and love on her in the way that they have done. But it has been a big journey, obviously, for her. And I can't think of anything better than like shouting out that song and getting everyone you love to dance along to it and thinking of Kat while you do, because she's a beautiful soul.
Yeah, awesome. I'll link that in the show notes. So for everyone listening, go do that. But awesome. Well, thank you, Emma.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Yeah, I'll link because I'm about to end it, but I'm going to link Emma's stuff. Please go follow her. Please go follow her because she's just great and I enjoy it. So anyway, awesome, guys. Thank you. I'll catch you and see you, Emma. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Another episode down. Thank you all so much for listening. If you loved today's episode, I would be so appreciative if you would leave a rating and review. I cannot begin to tell you how much those mean to me, but also how much they help me get in front of more eyes and more ears. As always, be sure to check back every Tuesday and Friday for a new episode, whether it's an episode with me and my husband, me and Katie, or just another incredible, amazing guest. Stay tuned for more honest, real, raw chit-chat. And hey, do me a favor before you go. Remind yourself how amazing you are, how enough you are, how special you are. And boy, oh boy, I sure am glad to have you here. Thanks, friend.